Closing the day at 48.20 after failing the 48.28 test. Yeah, it was a bit strange. Big buy into close. We have CPI first thing in the morning, obviously. I don't know what to say about today's price action. It was pretty normal up until we hit about 75, and then got weird for a while, and then we dropped again, and it got normal. So that's where we're at. Tomorrow, put straddling looks to be at 47.70. Strangles at 50 and 80. So we're definitely in the upside range of the neutral positioning. That'll probably balance out more as we move into tomorrow's open. Maybe we see a little bit of downside tonight and move back to like the 4,800 level. That wouldn't be super surprising. But I don't think there's anything big overnight. Maybe Japan has some news. I think coincident index, leading economic index for Japan overnight. So that shouldn't impact shit too much. And then core inflation at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, followed by jobless claims, which are expected to worsen, but probably won't. Looks like analyst consensus forecast is 0.2. With headline 3.9 year over year for core, and then headline 0.1 with 3.1 year over year. So I think headline will be a little hotter than 0.1. I think 0.2 maybe slightly higher than 0.2, and we get 3.2 year over year again. Core, I would say, is probably in line with my expectations, like 0.3, 3.8 year over year. For SPX, that puts us pretty close to our prior high on today's upside test. I guess if CPI is hot, we could see a continued failure, maybe back down to gamma neutral. I kind of want to see how positioning has moved around tonight. I don't really know yet. GME had a little bit of a bounce today, like 50 cents, but I think it's still under delta neutral. Upstart clawed back a little bit and then fell. Once the price in Nvidia moderated, that really kind of stopped running. A little bit of covering and then a little bit of shorting on Fubo. Still sub $3. Not a lot going on there. Siri finally stopped being a $5.50 stable coin and lost a little bit of ground. Top. So Top, they covered this morning, shorted into the afternoon. Price still up 2 cents on the day. I'm not really sure they accomplished much there. There may be more covering coming in as we move forward. It's still very illiquid. So they can juggle the liquidity around for a little while, but eventually they're going to have to cover something. I would imagine that their goal is to try to juggle that liquidity until TUP makes their announcement on the 19th, if they can, and hopefully for the shorts that's a bearish announcement and they can get some people actually selling the underlying. Beyond, seeing a little bit of covering today, shorting through the ETFs, covering in the underlying, moved up 11 cents on the day, although the intraday high was quite a bit higher. Still holding that trend line. I'm starting to think if this persists and we start to break into an uptrend from here, that I'm possibly going to pick up some call positioning, maybe for like $9 Feb or March, but I'll think about that. Broad commodities down again today. HSI also down overnight, so still chopping around. Dixie down, but yields slightly up on the day, especially at the top end of the curve. Yeah, it didn't look like the fat tail was bullish in any way, and yet the market rose on the news. So I think it may have generated some hedging requirements that were like ultimately satisfied when we peaked, and then some of that shed off and the market maker rebalanced a little bit. Although the end of the day kind of skewed that all over again. And like I said, we're still kind of the upside of that neutral positioning. Core 1 and 3 month down again today, but a little less steep of a drop off. I think VIX actually ended up closing today a little higher than its intraday low. So some of that turning around, probably with inflation volatility expectations going into CPI. Watch out if you have like a strangle or something. Make sure that your losing leg doesn't get crushed into nothingness. Carry trade getting leaned on pretty heavily over the last 2 days. While Volatility isn't turning up. That's the forward returns on volatility are remaining a little bit suppressed. We are seeing the yield curve tighten up a little bit. Not much, but definitely a break in the trend that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 trading days. Move, that's not updated yet. Skews up a little bit today, which not really that interesting. And then, oh yeah, this, I wanted to go to just VX1. That's still down about 39.64%. So still in excess of any historical peak. Yeah, it's still significantly in excess of what we saw in 2010. I remember that this is on the weekly, right? So it's really just like a deviation in the forward convexity between spot VIX and VIX futures. But it's a big one. It's definitely still very notable, even though it's slipped back below 40% on the weekly. Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good night, guys. Later.